Hey guys, welcome back to the Detour Live. We've got plenty of action coming up on the show. We're going to be recapping Tour Lombardia and obviously Pogacar. What an absolute superstar. We'll deep dive and go through what happened there. We've got the Women's World Tour race over there in Britain, and we're going to be recapping some of the highlights of season 2021, given that it's a wrap. And also, if you enjoy this video content, make sure you hit the subscribe button, youtube.com/the Detour Podcast. Phil, they're going to be rude if they didn't.
It would. Yeah.
I'm joined, as always, four-time national road champion Johnny Turow, voice of cycling Phil Liggett, Olympic gold medalist and commentator Scotty McGrory. Now, I feel a bit out of place with my, I don't know where I got this jumper from, but I don't have any branding.
Nice.
Scooter, you got the Oz Cycling Polo. Phil, you've got the Jayco Herald Sun Tour.
Yeah,
you're not wearing your leather jacket.
No, on? But I didn't have a shave either, so I'm a bit slack today. I've just realised I looked at my reflection. I better step back. Yeah, all good.
Right.
It's okay.
Well, fellas,
Phil, is that Herald Sun Tour top? Is that actually the 2023 edition? Is that promotion for that? Getting ready?
Regrettably not. It's about 3 years ago, I think. I just was getting dressed this morning. I saw it hanging in the wardrobe. I thought, that's a nice looking shirt. I put it on and found the badge was on there. What a shame. No, it actually was great memories of Kings Lake when we finished up there about 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was, John.
And fantastic.
I remember Jerry Ryan driving me back to town. We had a lovely night in Melbourne, then I flew back to London. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, beautiful. Now, fellas, obviously Lombardia was run and done yesterday, and geez, not a bad season for today. Pogacar, you'd have to say, Scooter.
Not bad.
Another monument.
Just another. So what is it? It's only with Fausto Coppi, Eddie Merckx, and now Tadej that have won 2 monuments and the Grand Tour in the same season. So at his age, what can he not do? He's just an extraordinary athlete. And what I like most about him is he's down to earth. He's a nice guy. He doesn't seem to have any real, like obviously inside, like Miguel Indurain back in the day, they have this killer instinct. All champions do. And he wants to do the same and destroy his opponents. But he seems like a nice guy, really, really nice guy. So I think it's a blessing for us in this sport to have someone like that that's so good for us all to follow.
Well, someone had to take over after Lance.
And the Yang. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you another highlight was Chris Hamilton putting his rubbish straight in the bin out on the bike. That was fantastic to see.
Well, I tell you, I missed that earlier, so there you go. I didn't know about that.
I didn't see it either.
But I've got him in the list to talk about because he rode really strong. He was in the break all day and one of the strongest in the break. And when it got whittled down to the last few, he was still there. So it's a pretty impressive ride, actually.
And obviously, Quickstep, Phil tried to throw the kitchen sink. And, the second place is nothing to sneeze at. But I saw comments from the world champion saying, we rolled the dice, we got second, and that's okay.
Well, Masnada lives in Bergamo. That's where he was brought up, and that's where the race finished. And so it seemed that he was obviously feeling good because he tried to go with Nibali, blew Nibali away, and tried to reach Pogacar, which he did with terrific descending. The skill of both those guys going down hills, they were like Formula One racing drivers, the way they descended. It was fantastic descending. But he went quicker down there. He bridged 45 seconds. He got up to Pogacar, and he was inspired. It was almost as if he gave up in the sprint. He just never made the effort to beat him. I don't know whether he felt obliged to let him win because he was he sat on the back and done nothing the whole ride by orders from the team, or whether he seriously was burned out by that chase. But he couldn't get round him or even remotely approach him in the sprint. And Pogacar rode like 10 men. And as you say, Scott, he is actually a very nice guy, very intelligent guy. His English is virtually perfect. And Slovakian, the Slovenian people as a nation are very gentle people, and they're very hospitable. And so he's just spreading his love around the world, and he's a brilliant bike rider. Now I've got him down as being the only man since Bernard Hinault to win the same 3 big races this year: Liège, Lombardia, and the Tour de France in the same year. And that's a long wait. But this kid doesn't think of records. He just says it's great when he's told what he's done. Jeff Kenney was interviewing him in English at the end, and Jeff said, "Do you realise what you achieved?" And he didn't know what he'd achieved, except the fact he'd won. And he said, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, good stuff." Yeah.
It's interesting what you're saying about Masnada. Now, as you mentioned, he lives in Bergamo, and they reckon he knows that's his training road. He knows that road like the back of his hand. And I know that region a little bit myself, not as well as you, Scotty. But so he knows the road so well. That's why he caught him on the descent. But they both nearly put it down on the descent, but both he and
they did.
Pogacar gave it a close run. But once he got there, the team said, stop working. But then they also told Alaphilippe to stop working. I thought that was a mistake. And the reason why he didn't, it looked like he wasn't sprinting, is because he's not a sprinter at all. He's no speed. Whereas Pogacar, we've seen him win bunch sprints. So it was always a lay down misère. He was never going to get near him. And he gave up with 50 metres to go because they knew it was done, and Pogacar could just ease back himself. There was no way he was actually giving it. But I thought it was a tactical mistake. They needed Alaphilippe to be there because at least, they would have a chance of winning. As it turned out, they were 50-something seconds down.
But without the win, of course, he hasn't won a race since he won stage 6 of the Giro, I think it was, about 3 years ago, 2019. So he's finished the season with no wins because that was his last race, as it was for all of the Koenig riders. I just think that, in fairness to Alaphilippe, I think he tipped over the top with his form. He laid it on the line to win the world titles. That was his target. And he's been that's his first race back, and he's gone downhill since. I think his season ended yesterday for sure, but he did.
Yeah. I actually thought he was very strong. I actually thought he was very good.
He wasn't able to break the break up. He couldn't. They chased him back all the time, and he went to the front.
Yeah, time to park. It's like these guys, and this is where you say with Tadej, he actually has had some moments where he hasn't raced as much as someone like Alaphilippe, and had a bit of time to just recharge the engines and come back again for something like this. And then, a couple of races ago, Milan Turin and Piemonte, in these races, he wasn't quite as outstanding as he was at Lombardia. So he's been able to do that to sort of go up and down. You look at someone like Wout van Aert. I know in Belgium, think how good Wout van Aert has been these last couple of years. And this year as well, exceptional form. But because he hasn't won a race for the last couple of months, some of the Belgian media have fallen on top of him, saying that he's not winning bike races anymore. It's like, I think anyone that's racing World Tour would like to have Wout van Aert's season. It's just these last 2 months he hasn't won a big race, but he's always been there or thereabouts. So people get pretty fickle, that's for sure. But, yeah.
Another good ride, if he was obviously Adam Yates rounding out the podium. Being a bit of a trend in 2021. If you used to ride at Green Edge, you have a bloody good year. So it was really well.
Well, it was good to be third, probably a little bit lucky. I mean, he and Roglic were both distanced and only got on in the sprint and had a run at them, so it just worked well for him.
But the commentators didn't even highlight the fact he was coming. And you're absolutely right, John. They just kept going past the sprinters, and they took out third and fourth. But the commentators made nothing of it. The catch was incredible. They were dropped 500 meters to go, and they get back. Yeah. It's terrific. Yeah. Could have been made a lot more of, I felt.
That's a fair sledge there. That's a fair sedge there from the voice of cycling on the commentary team.
I was commentating for my wife Trish from the
absolutely. Because, it is frustrating though, isn't it, Phil, sometimes? And this is, look, no one likes to be critical of because we all cop it from people and criticism, that's for sure. But I guess, and the way I look at races now as a commentator as well, I'm sure you're the same, Phil, and I think what you just said, highlights that, is that you are looking at things that you feel should be delivered to the audience to enhance their viewing coverage of the event. And that's one of them, is you can tell them coming in the background, and with the speed that they were coming, that was a great moment to build up this extra race that, the wind had already gone. First and second was up the road. It was now a race for third, but something really exciting happened in that with Adam and Roglic coming past to steal third place from the guys. It was a great moment, yeah.
It was. I must, before all my English friends who are commentators write to me, I was watching it in French on a Belgian television. But
I
they
was
didn't
watching it in
remark on it
Japanese.
at all.
I was watching the Japanese one as well, and they didn't see it either. So yeah, right.
Now, how do you think, Phil? How do you think this is going to affect moving into next season? Given how dominant Pogacar has been, a lot of the top guys. Do you think they're going to have to reshuffle things around and go? You know what? I'd probably rather do the Giro for Vuelta double, or try and shift their schedule around so that you don't have to come up against the cream of the crop.
Well, it was all the same old suspects, I must say, but they're the guys who've had the great season, and it's the last race of the year. There was an element of feeling it was the last race of the season, I must say. A big break of 10 getting away, everybody believing nobody up there could affect the result of the race because of what the terrain towards Bergamo is pretty hilly and beautiful scenery, by the way. And I don't know, next year will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, our first regular season again. But what has come out of COVID in many ways is these new dates for some of these races have made them the best we've ever seen, especially at this end of the year, because the weather can be, to quote a phrase, very iffy. And it makes a situation whereby the riders come and go, and they've had to adjust their season to suit. I don't think for one moment, in fact, the dates are announced, so that the Paris-Roubaix won't hold October dates, for example. They're going the usual day. Slightly changed because they swap with the Amstel Gold Race next year because of the Dutch elections, I think it is. And so it's not quite the same day. It's only a week different. So
I think it's the French elections.
Is it the French? Oh, it's the French election. That's right. You're right, John. They requested from the Dutch would they swap dates with them, which they immediately said yes. So that's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're in for a regular year next year. I might even make the Tour de France, judging by a conversation I've had this week with NBC. I think they're going to do a little bit different, but we'll be on site next year. Hey, hallelujah.
Fingers crossed, mate. Yeah. Fingers crossed I'll be there as well. I'm planning a detour.
I'm going now. I know, I'm going to go back to Sky.
I'm planning a detour. Hopefully I'll be doing the podcasts live from France every day.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, don't worry. I'll find a way to get over there as well if you'll be there. Don't worry.
Good news.
Don't worry about that.
It's starting in Denmark, of course, which is a first.
Yeah.
I've never been to Denmark. Can you believe all these years? Never been.
Really? That does surprise me, Phil.
Yeah, I've been invited when I was a commissaire. I was invited many times to work over there, but
I've never been invited, but I go there anyway.
Oh, good. It must be a nice place then.
Scooter, you know how they get to the end of the season, and this is the part where, a lot of riders go, right, I need a couple of weeks off the bike. I just need to clear my head. But then you've got riders that had a lot of expectation, didn't quite go their way in terms of results, and then they have to rethink a strategy in terms of might have to do something different. I use Michael Matthews as an example. Going into next year and talking to guys like Heinrich Hausler who do the cyclocross and mix things up, I mean, how much does he need to tweak, or how can he turn those results around from 2021 going into next year?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, obviously by his standards, it wasn't a great season at all. And look, he was getting paid some substantial money to come back to the Bike Exchange squad as well. So there would be heavy expectations on him for this season and definitely going into next year. He really needs to sit down with his people and really, be very honest with himself and his coach and, his support people to work out where they feel that they let themselves down and what went wrong. He's still in a good age bracket. It's not as if he's too old. It's just something just wasn't quite right for him, and he needs to make some adjustments for next year. So that's something that over these next couple of weeks, I hope and I imagine that they will do. Look at the racing program. Look at what races he targeted. Were they the right races for him? Should he change of focus or not? But I don't think it makes any sense to do exactly what he has done coming into these last couple of seasons and expect, it's the definition of insanity, isn't it, to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. So he does need to make some changes. They might only be little small ones, little tweaks, but they definitely need to have a big discussion about it so that they can be better planned for next year. And fingers crossed, he can come back to what we know he can be.
Just while we're on that with Michael Matthews, it's interesting, isn't it? I had my own thoughts on it. He actually didn't have bad form. He actually was racing very well. He had really good form. bigger races, he was in the mix. And, his second stage tour, I think, was the Tour de France. Great ride. But I think the focus has to change in what they're setting him up to do. Of course, there are certain classics he's good for, and he will always be going for them. Whether he gets there or not, I don't know. But to me, the Tour de France problem is he's not a sprinter. Even though he sprints quite well, he's never he's not a sprinter. And I don't think that, he won a green jersey years back. I don't think that's what he should be going for. He should be going for the stages, the right stages to win. That's what his focus has got to be on. But the problem is, when you're going over the green jersey, you're doing a different role. You've got the lead outs. I don't think that was the right way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is no disrespect to him whatsoever, right? Anyone that wins anything wins the race. You've got to beat who's there. But the year that, let's be realistic, the year that he won the green jersey, Marcel Kittel was the fastest sprinter in the race that year and was outside the time limit on one of the stages and went home. And Peter Sagan was DQ'd that year as well. So, and that's fine. You just beat whoever's there. But it's not like he was going back the following year, like, say, Sam Bennett would have been this year, as the favourite to get green again. That hasn't been the case since he won green. So, yeah, and the fact that he was going for green meant that he was challenged in getting into some of the breakaway days because they knew that he would be taking points off some of the other riders and would get chased down. He needs to be more of an opportunist, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a man who has had a good year, and that is Neil the Sheriff Stevens, and he joins us live. Sheriff, welcome back to the detour, mate.
G'day, fellas.
That's a posh looking bus you're in today, Steve-O. Looks a very nice bus. That is a 48-seater, that bus you're in today. It looks very good.
No, back at home with the family home at the moment.
How nice is that?
Sheriff, we had Heinrich Hauser on the show on, when was that, Thursday, Iffy, and we're obviously talking about Paris-Roubaix, but what a fantastic year for Team Bahrain Victorious. It's just been fantastic. He was talking about how it's just been a real momentum shift throughout the year, and the culture is pretty rock solid at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny the way things work out, because obviously we did a lot of things right at the start of the year. The planning was good, the training was good, but the reality is everybody's doing the right thing. It's not that we're doing anything better than anyone else, but we're certainly doing things right. But I just caught in the tail end of that Michael Matthews thing as well. Sometimes when you get a couple of wins up, well, then you can go out on a limb and go for another win, or go out in a break and do that sort of stuff. And perhaps that's what's happening with Michael Matthews. They really need him to win. He really wants to win. And then he puts a lot of pressure on himself, and he doesn't get a win. Then he really needs another win. Whereas we're sort of throwing it out there with the boys and going for things like, who would have expected Cobrelli to pull off the win in Paris-Roubaix? And basically, if we win, that's a bonus. But sometimes that's the best way to get the wins up, isn't it?
Hey, Steve-O, I picked your man to win Paris-Roubaix before the race started.
You did?
Yeah. So I expected him to win.
Did you get a couple of bob on him?
No, I don't gamble on sport. I don't gamble. You know me, no risk taking me.
Yeah, no, I don't do it myself. Yeah.
But Heino made an interesting point as well. He said it's the first time that we're regularly going to races now, and we really believe that we can win them. Like, you're not going in fearing anyone. Do you sort of get a sense of that?
Yeah, I think the boys they were all on par, and Heino, Heino's always really backs himself in no matter what. But the truth is, we're going in on par with people, and we're going in to we're not looking up to people. We're going in and say, right, these are the guys that could probably win, have a good show and win it, but we're amongst that as well. And then and it's a bit of a different frame of mind when you're going on par with people and going toe to toe with them, and you got to go with respect, full respect for the opponent. But you got to back yourself in as well.
Scooter,
Neil, I remember some comments from you. I don't know when it was though. It was a very, very long time ago, in an interview where you were asked about being an Australian and taking on the Europeans, going to Europe and becoming a part of Once and Festina and big results. And you said something like, because for us Aussies back in that period, it was Europe was the other side of the universe. They seemed like different people. They weren't human, those athletes and those cyclists. And you said something like, once you got over there and started racing, you realised that, hey, they've just got two arms, two legs, just like the rest of us. Why can't we beat them? And it sounds like the attitude that your team is now taking as well into the races this season.
Yeah, it's funny. I realised that 2 arms and 2 legs actually on a trip to the World Championships in '82. I went over and watched Alan Piper and Phil Anderson. Steele Bishop was there on the track, and then I realised, hang on, these guys, fantastic bike riders, but they've still got 2 arms and 2 legs, and that was when I started to realise that they're humans. They're not. We sort of read about. In those days, we used to get the videos, like 2 months after the event. We used to read about these people, and they used to think they were gods, which they sort of close on are. But the thing is that they got 2 arms, 2 legs. They fail. And there's no reason why. If you've got a bit of talent and you really dedicate yourself to them, you can really get in and have a go at it. And that's what you're exactly right. What we've done, the training camp at the start of the year, we got in really hard, trained in, banging against each other. And we knew we were going to go out and throw it out there and try to do the best we can. The surprising thing about our results this year was that in a couple of different events, our leaders failed through crashes. The Giro with Mikel Landa, another crash with Jack in the Tour de France. Once again, Mikel Landa couldn't come up to it in the Vuelta, but our secondary riders come up and they took the role of the leaders. And so once again, they didn't really expect to be in that position, but they took it on. They said, right, well, I'm here now. I'll give it a crack. And that sort of looking on par with different people and not being afraid to stand up to the plate has really given us some great successes this year.
Iffy?
Yeah, look, I was also going to ask, even though he's not in your team anymore, but you were involved with Pogacar last year. What did you think of his win last night?
Yeah, he's a great, fantastic bike rider. He's a bloody nice bloke though as well, and he's just so laid back and he just enjoys it, And then who would have thought, when there was a few attacks, I think Nibali attacked just before Pogacar, and then Pogacar just lit it up. Away you go. It was at 30, 40K to go. And he just loves it, And so that, in answer to the question, what I think about it, I thought it was fantastic. I love watching good bike riders get out and give it a crack, and that's what he's doing. That's what these guys like Van Aert and Van der Poel and that sort of stuff, they're all doing. But Pogacar, I've got to tell you a story in the tour in the UAE tour. There's a break of 30 riders up the road. We luckily had one in there. Pulled up to the breakaway to give my rider a bit of advice, to give a bin. And Pogacar looked over, big smile. G'day, Neil. And he's there, and he's in the middle of winning bike race. He just loves it. He's living the dream.
Yeah. So, mate, can you give the viewers an insight into what does the off season involve for you guys, and how do you build on such a successful year like this year?
For us as the support staff, I find myself I'm biting at the bullet a little bit because I was lucky enough to have a break straight after the Vuelta. I've been home, family, just catching up and doing the hedges and that sort of stuff. And I find myself getting on the phone, jumping out and trying to find out when camps are and what's going on. And I'm thinking I have to hold myself back because the season still hasn't finished. And but basically that's it. We're all about trying to quickly get the location and the framework of the training camp set up. Then we try to get onto working out where riders succeeded, where they didn't succeed, where they can sort of go a bit better. And with that framework, we can adjust their racing program, get that out to the boys as quick as we can, so then they can start their base training. And then, start to then also work on different materials. Wind tunnel testing was a big thing we've got to try to do this winter. But it's pretty well full on. Basically, we've got to make sure that when we get to, unfortunately, Tour Down Under's not on, so not January, but February, that's when we can take a bit of a breather. But the off season is a pretty hectic time for the support staff.
Scooter,
what has changed? When riders, if you go way back, season finished, and most riders would have whatever amount of time off the bike. Some might have 2 weeks completely off the bike, 10 days, some maybe a full month. And if you go way back, it might have been a couple of months if they weren't doing, say, the winter 6-day season as well. What's the norm now? Is that something that the riders themselves work out with their own coach? How many days they might have off? How many weeks they might have off? Is it an active recovery? What's the typical time off the bike or away from specific training from their last day of racing until they start up again.
Yeah, I really feel sorry for the boys these days. Like a few years ago, not that many years ago, the boys would all head up to Noosa and they'd all have a bit of let their hair down and then sort of start thinking about getting back on the bike after about a month of complete rest. I'm not talking about active rest, I'm talking about complete rest. And so, and these days, the boys don't rest at all. They're very strict on their diet, even in the off season. They're making sure they're eating the right food and they're always active. And in fact, time off the bike is down to about 15 days. Maybe 3 weeks if you get a bit of an early break. But the activity goes on the whole time. These boys, the current bike riders, but athletes in general, but the bike riders are athletes 12 months a year. They're full on it. They don't put on, like maybe a couple of kilos, but that might even be a couple of kilos of muscle. But there's not much rest for these guys these days.
Obviously, a lot of Aussies would be keen to know what the plan for Jack Haig is next year, Sheriff.
Yeah, I've once again, like I said, I've been trying to hold myself back I've had a bit of a rest and I'm ready to go, but I'm sort of holding myself back to bringing Jack. I don't want to hound him too much. I know he's got some wind tunnel testing coming up quite soon because he wants to do that before his active strength starts. But yeah, I really don't know. But I tend to think that Jack, once again, he hasn't got the Olympics this year, which is actually a good thing. But then he'll be looking forward to once again trying to make, if the framework of the Tour de France lines up for him, I reckon that's going to be on his plan. But basically, yeah, I really haven't had that discussion with Jack. I've got my thoughts on what he should be doing, but really. We really should have to have a bit of a chat with Jack before I start sharing that.
What about the skiing? Because he loves his skiing. He does like a bit of not downhill skiing, but a bit more cross country and telemarking skiing, things like that. Is that something that you guys discuss with him about? Can you just back off with the skiing in the off season a bit because of potential injury?
Jack's got his coach that he works with the team. I don't sort of get into that. I know that he's a very active guy. He's got his new child on board, so he makes sure that he's going to be slipping out doing a bit of fatherly duties in the off season as well. But I know that Jack, it's not the weather for it, but he likes to get out and do a bit of a surf. He likes to get out and do a bit of hiking as well, and so he's very active. Basically, all that sort of stuff works through his team coach. And he works in with that. But he's very holistic about the whole thing. And as I said, the main thing that we spoke about last time I spoke with Jack was getting his aero testing done. He hasn't done any of that in this team as yet. Last year, weren't able to get that up and going. So but any activity that he does, it's all directed around whole strength, a complete break from the bike, but also making sure that he's mentally ready to go for the start of the season, because the start of the season quite often sets up the whole season as well.
Phil?
Yeah, just wondering, Steve, with the Aussies in Europe, are they staying in Europe now because of COVID, or have some of them gone home to Australia? Do you know?
No, I don't know. Probably Dan and his relationship with Sam would be the one could tell you that better. I know Jack hasn't gone back for a couple of years, and that's even a bit harder now with the child on board as well. But there's the norm of the guys was to head back as quick as you can and get back there and that sort of stuff. I know the borders are opening up slightly in Australia now. It's home quarantine, not hotel quarantine, I believe.
Mate, we're going to have 10,000 at the Melbourne Cup, Sheriff. We're back.
Yeah, but I hear you got to have masks on, so I don't know how you be down in the schooners with the masks on, mate.
You just cut a hole in them, just a bit of Velcro. There's always ways around it. But no, I think a lot of the Kiwi guys are going back to New Zealand. There's a couple like Durbos going back to Perth, but I think a few are doing it, but then also a lot of it's going to stay in Europe as well, just because, as Neil said, with the quarantine and so forth. So.
Yeah. I know. Sorry, John. I was just saying, talking of the Irish drinkers there through the masks, we should pay tribute to two great Irish cyclists who have now retired from the sport, Stephen and Nicholas Roach. Stephen's son, and Dan Martin, who rode his last
That's
race
right.
yesterday. They are two guys who really give us big moments in commentary, especially when Nick got the lead in the welter for a while, 3 days I think it was, and of course Dan's won the monuments, and they're no longer in the peloton next year. It's the changing ways,
and they're cousins.
And they're cousins, absolutely. They're family related, yes. And Neil Martin, Dan's dad, is what's he going to do now? Because he spent his whole life getting drunk on the long distance trains while he was going to watch his son race all over Europe. Because I was with him, so I know. That Neil just loved what his son did, and played a very backroom observer too, because he was just proud of what Dan did. Yeah.
Big fan of Dan Martin.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's
we
a
went on safari.
A bloody racer.
Yeah.
Now, Neil, is there any truth to the rumor that you're looking to change your last name to Young? I can see a guitar in the background there, mate. You having a bit of a strum in the off season.
Well, you're upsetting Dan now, Steve.
No, there next to me, little fella. But, no, mate. I'm my part in the musical side of this family is support. I support everyone around the place.
You're the roadie.
Voice. Yeah, you belt out of tune, wouldn't you, Neil? Back up.
No. Oh well, I sing not a bad nursery rhyme when I'm doing recons with my son in the car. So we get ABC Kids going and the Wiggles and that sort of stuff. So we're right. No, I've got my missus and my eldest girl play the guitar. My little girl plays the piano. Yep, and I get the camera going. I film them.
I saw a vision of you in the Tour de France riding alongside Alan Piper singing a tune. Football, meat pies, kangaroos and holding cars. No, you can hold a tune. Don't worry about that. Now, one of the big changes you might need to look at as well, Neil, is last time we spoke to you at the Vuelta, you might have to get a Team Bahrain Victoria full-time security guard, just because we're seeing bikes getting knocked off, trolley bags. I mean, this is becoming talk about a pandemic. Theft. What do you got planned for next year?
Oh, bloody hell. I'm still picking up the piece of that trolley getting knocked off. I've got my ID card, my driver's license, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But anyway, I've got my headphones, new headphones, got the new computer, and so all covering of it. So
not all bad.
Yeah.
Anything
if you want to add before we let the sheriff go?
Well, just while we're talking about the difference now with the riders, how they virtually have any don't have any time off, and it was interesting talking with Heinrich Hausler. Like he, next week he's riding his first cyclocross, so I mean he only gets a week off the bike. So and then you're in a training camp by January, so he's really he's going to get no time off, is he?
Yeah, that's a little bit of Heinrich's. Heinrich loves it, and it's fantastic to see the energy he puts into it. And he was already talking about the cyclocross season at the start of the spring classics, and he's found that the cyclocross late in his life, and he's riding it. But whether it's the cyclocross or whether it's the mountain bike or whether it's going down and having a hit of tennis, the boys are riding it. But Heino, his energy that he puts into it, and my only fear is that he's going to run out of batteries, because he goes there, and like hats off to him. He heads down there. There's all these big teams with a big support going into the cyclocross. He's down there on his own. He's got his, he gets a couple of mates to give him a bit of a hand, but he loves it. He does a fantastic job over there in the cyclocross season. So. No doubt, next time I'll physically see him as at the training camp in January. He'll be nailed again, ready to be really complaining that he's had to a bit of a hard off season, but he'll be back there in the Spring Classics, giving it all again. So, but he's fantastic.
I know back in my day,
here we go.
I used to have a bit of a break, almost 6 months, and I'd put on about 6 kilos, and then have to try and lose it. It's a bit different now.
Only 6. That's not too bad.
I reckon
Norwich should do more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, all the cyclists used to go skiing, and they even had their own championship for cyclists only. All the pro bike riders. Sean Kelly was among them. But all those days have gone now. The sport has moved on, and so is the age of the competitor as well. At 27 now, you've got to be starting to think of retirement, I think. for the way the trend is at the moment.
Got a couple of live comments. Jane Ashcroft says, "Evening, everyone. Wendy Superfan, hi guys, and Neil and David wants to ask you Sheriff's thoughts on working with Alan Piper. Obviously, Alan's wrapped things up this year."
My thoughts on working with Alan Piper was bloody fantastic. You've heard the story many times, but we were looking for when I joined the team, we were looking for a director from up around Belgium. And I thought, why don't we get Alan Piper? He was just finished up with BMC and coming on board. And it was and I always knew it was going to be great working with Alan, but it was far better than what I ever expected. It was bloody fantastic to meet up to join up with an Aussie, and we physically didn't go to the mini races together, but we spent a lot of time on the phone. And but he's a very knowledgeable person as far as bike riding goes. But he's a bloody gentleman, as my present company is as well. But Alan Piper is a gentleman, a smart bloke. He's very persistent with his job. He recognises the fact that he's so persistent. He's actually a pain in the ass sometimes to get what he has to be done. And good on him. Hats off to him. And but it's fantastic. And that was one of the hard things about leaving UAE was parting companies with Alan. It was probably the biggest thing, really. And but we still catch up with each other with a bit of a message and a bit of a phone call every now and again. And
just one thing, Neil. I'd see that UAE are taking on a women's team next year. They're taking over one of the leading women's teams. They're going to become UAE. Any chance of Bahrain victorious doing that?
Yeah, I saw that news article come up yesterday when I was watching the bike race, which I was watching Lombardia, and it said that they'd taken over the Ljubljana team, which is Ljubljana is the town where Pogacar's from, so no doubt there's a bit of a connection there. Obviously, it's very, very difficult for a team from the UAE to have a women's team on board, but there's support of that team. So that I don't know to what level they're supporting it, to what the name's going to be or whatever. But good on them. But I think all teams should be getting in and having a bit of a go to try to support in some way, whether it don't actually lend the name to the team or I don't really know. That's a bit of politics really. But get in and give the women a bit of support and put them where they should be, up in the top place in the echelon of professional sport.
Scooter?
Great. Just on I agree with everything you just said then. On Alan Piper, there was I don't know if you guys have already mentioned this or not, but did you see that in Belgium he was given the top DS of the year position? There's an award that they give out each year, so I don't know if you guys have already mentioned that, but good on him for that. But the other one, Neil, you might be able to back me up on this, but I remember hearing stories from Alan that so these days you've got a lot of the food is looked after. They've got chefs at the big events, the big Grand Tours, to make sure the riders get exactly what they need. That wasn't the case. When your time, my time, Steve-O, that wasn't the case. It was whatever happened at the hotel you happened to be staying at each night, that you just ate what was dished up. And look, I remember doing it after a 240k stage in a tour in Poland. We rocked up to the only team in the hotel, and dinner they thought was going to be a real treat for us. They just had steak tartare. That was it. Nothing else. So just raw mince and onion for dinner. And I think I had like about 6 power bars that night.
Iffy.
Yeah, Iffy would have loved it. Yeah, but I think I had 6 power bars just to get some sort of carbs into me for the next day. But my point is, with Alan Piper, the story that I heard was at the end of the season, he would often do a fast to just detox his body. And in the off season, he was very, very strict with his diet, because that was the only time that he knew that he was in complete control of what he was going to consume for a period of months, just to make sure he fueled his body correctly in the off season. Because in the actual season itself, he had to just eat whatever was given to him at the end of each day in terms of hotels. Is that an accurate story, Steve-O? Do you know?
Yeah, spot on. I just can't remember his name. He had a lot of advice given him. Brotherton. What was his name?
Yeah, Peter Brothers.
Peter
Brothers.
Yeah, so he learned a lot from him. Alan did, and in fact, when back back in the day when if you got me a ride in a team in Italy, it was fantastic back in '86.
Surprised you didn't intro you with that.
Yeah,
you usually brings it up.
Along the lines of the Australian champion, and he did what he did for me, and that's stuff. But Alan Piper actually gave me a few tips. I remember one time I had a chesty, bit of a flu-y sort of a symptom that went on for ages, and I was feeling all right, but just had these phlegms going on. And Alan, this is like I was only in my early 20s, and he wrote down, you should be drinking warm water and lemon juice, and you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And he helped me bounce back really good. And so little things about fasting in the off season, that I sort of took those ideas from Alan and my thing. But Alan, he looked after himself like unbelievably. And yeah, you're exactly right that we in the hotels was bloody terrible. Sometimes French hotels, it's the only hotels I've been to that someone said to me, "Is that meat or fish?" And I said, "I don't know." I was actually eating it. I still couldn't tell them. But that was bloody terrible. And that's the great thing about the hotels, the chefs these days that we've got. But Alan was and is a very knowledgeable guy with his diet, and he's done it from looking after himself so well.
The best two.
I was going to say, it just shows you what a great guy Alan Piper is. He still did that for you to help you in those early days, Sheriff, after you'd stolen the Sun Tour from him.
You had to bring that up again. You had to bring that up again, John. It was going so well, the interview, and you've left a real sour taste. I was just going to say, Neil, the best two buffets I ever saw in my time with you was number one was when we were at Tour of Beijing, and dinner was dished up the same thing the next day. We had chips and squid sticks for breakfast. The other one was that day you stitched me up and gave me stingray at the Vuelta.
Over in Galicia.
Oh, mate. That was crook. I went white as a ghost, and you flicked me, mate. I thought it was just flake.
Almost the same. Almost the same.
Shocking. Never recovered.
It's
mate,
white.
Yeah. Mate, really appreciate you coming on the detour. You've had a fantastic year with the team, and bigger and better things going on, particularly
Absolutely.
what Heino was saying about the culture. It's a pretty exciting time, mate. So looking forward to it.
Bloody thanks, fellas. Thanks for inviting me on the program, and I look forward to catching up with all of you again. Maybe in the off season, but certainly at the start of next year. So I wish you all the best for the off season.
Good on you, Neil.
Good to speak to you, mate.
Guys. Okay.
See you, bud. Great to speak, mate. Yeah, mate.
Take it easy,
mate.
Sheriff.
Right.
Neil Stevens, absolute legend, and always up a good chat. We'll have a quick drinks break, and then we're going to wrap the women's tour over there in the UK.
Can I just say, Dan, for anyone that's watching and listening, hang about for this, because something happened at the women's tour of the final stage, which again got missed by the commentary team, Phil.
That's right.
Which was quite. I thought that was quite bizarre, and it was extraordinarily dangerous. A crazy moment.
The main thing is it didn't slip through Scooter the Sniper McGrory's track.
No. Big screen. Watch it on replay several times. Oh yeah, the benefit of hindsight, I picked it up. Yeah,
that's right. Stay tuned for that. Quick drinks break.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Life is like a two-way street. It's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. The Amy Gillett Foundation is Australia's peak cycling safety charity. Our mission is for safe cycling in Australia. Our vision is for 0 cyclist deaths. Over the last year, we've seen an enormous increase in people taking up cycling, whether it be for recreation, with the family, commuting, or even to start your own cycling career. We need to do more to make it safer for every cyclist. 20 cyclists every day are hospitalised and 1 cyclist is killed every 10 days on Australian roads. So, the next time you jump on your bike or hop in your car, remember to practice the 4 C's. Be courteous, calm, considerate and conscientious. Every cyclist's death is preventable and we all deserve to get home safely. Please donate to help the Amy Gillett Foundation make the roads safer for you and for me.
Thanks again to Bike Exchange and the Amy Gillett Foundation, as we always say, beautifully voiced by the voice of cycling, Phil Liggett. I was just thinking in the drinks break, I'm becoming in that next age bracket, and it's because of my snacks. I'm starting knobby salted cashews. Never ever used to be a snack on nuts, man, but I remember my granddad used to love those. And I'm just
nibble, knobbies, nuts.
Those,
yeah,
in those twilight years. As we said,
you'll be smoking a pipe soon.
That's right. That's right. And then I'll be getting those, the Cadbury's, like the ones that they have in the sultanas and the nuts mix.
Fruit and nuts.
That fruit and nut mix. That's when you sit in your rocking chair with your boiled
That's good.
That's it.
I like that. What are you saying?
So we're all old.
I like fruit and nuts as well.
Well, there you go. It validates. I moved on to the twilight years.
One of my good mates was Nobby. His nickname was Nobby, and he hated that ad. Nibble Nobby's nuts. He always felt uncomfortable with it. But anyway, okay.
You have to go there again, John. You're really milking that, bringing that out. Now the Wheel Wizard, he always keeps us accountable. He said, a mention on commentary that Ineos didn't use disc brakes in the Italian last 4 races, and Pogacar was congratulated by Ernesto on his win, no diss, and he got done the descents okay.
That's a very good point. And the Wheel Wizard, as you say, John, is on the ball. But I must say that the mechanic on Ineos did a terrific wheel change when he had a puncture in Paris-Roubaix on discs. I really think, personally speaking, I find no difference. I've got 3 bikes with disc brakes on, and I find no difference at all. But I must point out, I don't do rain anymore, so I've not been out in the wet. However, it does make a big problem for a wheel change. When you think you can change 4 wheels on a Formula One racing car in 1.4 seconds, and it takes 10 to 15 seconds to change a wheel on a bicycle with disc brakes, that's a bit of a problem to get back in the bunch when it's full on.
What I never understood with that, Phil, is, if they do 4 wheel change and replace the tyres and it's 10 seconds, it's a shocking time. Whereas I go to the local bloke here and get 4 wheels done, he goes, mate, you have to give us a couple of days. I'm like, oh, sweet.
It's very
ridiculous.
Well, that's how busy they are now. There's so many flat tires. So many flat tires around Australia these days. Your roads are cracking up along with the COVID.
That's right.
Yeah. Can I say, right? So with the disc brake situation, disc brakes are better than rim brakes, right? So that's just a fact, right? They are better.
Is it? I don't feel any different about them when I use them. In fact, I feel spongy and horrible.
Oh, you need to get them fixed.
No, they're brand new bikes. When you pull your levers back, there's a lot of play in your levers, whereas your fingertip, and they jam straight on. Oh, not in the wet, I agree. Not in the wet, because you tap the water between.
Do bike riders get real passionate about this debate, Scooter? Disc or no disc?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, that's the point, though, right? So because they are better, the industry has gone that way as well. Now, we see the professional peloton, the World Tour peloton, and there's the debate about whether it looks better or not, and whether they are better or not. And Phil's points are absolutely valid. That it's factual that it's faster to change a rim brake wheel than it is a disc brake wheel, but it doesn't matter because disc brakes aren't for the pro peloton. the industry drives bicycles, and the bicycle industry is far bigger than the professional peloton. And when I was racing, I felt that, the pro teams being sponsored by whatever bikes and whatever equipment was the pinnacle, was the driving force of the bicycle industry. And then when I stopped and went to the Taiwan Bike Show, I saw how big the industry is outside of the pro scene itself. And there is a far, far bigger thing going on in the world of bicycle manufacturing and the industry of bicycles than what's in the pro peloton itself. So it doesn't matter whether the pros like them or not. It's gone down that path, and it's not driven by the pros in any way, shape, or form.
They'll be all on disc next year. You want to get your disc brakes adjusted, I think, Phil, because they're
all the same. I've got 3 bikes, all with discs. They're all the same. There's a long pull in the lever. Oh, they work.
Yeah, it's hard. There's no more research and development into rim brakes. It's just the industry has stopped.
Hard to progress, I'm sure.
It's all about disc brakes now. It's about wider rims. The wheels are better, so a disc brake wheel is far better than a rim brake wheel. They don't have to heat treat the rim anymore. They can make them wider, more aerodynamic, more stable in crosswinds. They're just better. And whether it's
the introduction of carbon fiber wheels was the end of normal brakes, as it were, because the pads just ripped the rim apart.
Yeah. And for us, like for you and I doing our thing, it's disc brakes all the way. But as we know from the pros, if you want a really quick wheel change, you're not going to get it with a disc brake wheel. That's just the way it is.
Look, I'm the sort of guy who prays for a puncture when I go riding. I don't care how long it takes.
Yeah, I remember pushing you up Mount Buninyong one day.
I
can't
believe that.
Yeah, but the thing was, and even so, normally people realise if I'm going to give you an assistance and give you a bit of a push, you have to actually keep pedalling, Phil, because when you stop pedalling when we're going uphill, you just become, let's say, 72 kilogram dead weight. It was really, really hard. I had to remind you, give me a hand here.
78 kilos, 78.
78, sorry.
But I've been pushed by every famous cyclist in the world, including Dal Limpy. He pushed me up a hill when I was riding with a Lance Armstrong bunch ride in Cape Town. And it's a really hard hill. And I'll tell you, when he came up behind me and grabbed my back and started pushing me, he was actually pushing me faster than I've been riding up the hill, and faster than the peloton. We actually pushed me back up to the group, and I did pedal a little bit, but not a lot.
Is that a dig at me? Is that a dig at me for?
No, I didn't want to make him feel too bad, And I'll tell you one funny story. I was with Axel Merckx doing a charity ride in Kelowna, where he lives in Canada, and I was being dropped by the group through the vineyards, because I remember the spectator saying, "Hey, Phil Liggett, what do you think of Kelowna?" And I shouted back, "Crap, I'm getting dropped," which was true. But seconds later, my wife goes past, Trish, being pushed by Axel Merckx. Not only did he push straight past me, he turned round and he said, "I pushed your wife because of the great things you said about me on television." And I shouted, "In which case, F my wife and get back here and push me." I never saw him again. The gap was 2 minutes at the finish. Trish finished with the front group. I was 2 minutes down. How about that? The stories bring out of me sometimes. I don't know.
Now, you fired the wheel wizard up. He says, "Are your disc cable, Phil? They are softer action."
I mean, could be. I wouldn't know. They've come from the best bike manufacturers in the world. There's no.
But what he means is, are they cable discs or are they the hydraulic?
Well, the little pads are hydraulic because you have to put the flickers in when you take your wheels out. Yeah. Does that make them hydraulic? I'm not very technical.
Well, man, I don't understand any of this conversation.
Yes. I feel better now. I feel as though I am technical now.
Yeah, there's different.
You're still waiting for car wheels.
Yeah, on the bottom.
Moving on.
Car wheels to be fixed.
Anyway, wheel wizards to blame for all that conversation.
That's right. Balsamo wins in the World Championship jersey on stage number 6 of the Women's World Tour. Scooter, but that was not the big talking point, because as we said before the break, you had the sniper vision out, and there's some vision we'll play that you shared on the WhatsApp group. Let's have a look.
Acceleration, and Balsamo, all she's left to do, straight down the centre of the road. She starts to get a little challenge from Lorena Wiebes on the left-hand side. Chloe Hosking trying.
Now, something was not right with that picture. What was it, Scott?
Yeah, something that's not supposed to be in the last 50 metres of a bunch sprint at that sort of speed is the motorbike on the left-hand side. So, yeah, that is crazy. Just past that point is the deviation. So he was trying to get to the deviation, but he was slowing down so much that, he got caught by the chasing peloton. And you can see how they fanned out across the road as well. It wasn't picked up in commentary. It wasn't a sketchy moment, but gee, the potential for some disaster was there. And for a motorbike to be in the final 50 metres of a bunch sprint, that is outrageous. And I don't know what he was thinking. So that's silly. That's a down point. The Tour, it's been amazing. It's been a great race, has been since its inauguration. It's been a great race for the women's peloton. And you're right, Balsamo winning in the rainbow jersey, fantastic salute as well. Just that Iron Cross salute was great.
Yeah.
But I just don't like seeing that happening there. And I don't know if the commentators noticed it but didn't want to say it because they feel that they don't want to say anything negative about the race. But the fact is, it happened, and it has to be mentioned. And that was really, really,
absolutely.
That was
they
terrible.
They could not notice it. And it was Chloe Hosking who, at third in that stage, who was the rider closest to the motorbike. She must have got a bit of a shock. It didn't affect her, as turned out. She didn't have to change her line, but she was pretty close to it. So if anyone on the inside of her would have gone straight to the back of it.
Yeah, and then we talk about barriers and making sure we've got the right barriers so we don't have, nasty crashes like we've seen at the Tour of Poland and all these things. And downhill sprints, we discussed that. Yeah, there's a motorbike official or whatever capacity he was there as, in the final 50 metres of a bunch sprint. That was just outrageous. And that's, in that situation for you and I, John, and for you, Phil, as well, as a former race director and John and I still doing that role, that motorbike rider would not be on a bike race again, run by us.
No,
for sure.
well, he was very lucky that it was the last stage of the race because he would have certainly been kicked off had it gone on. I know the organisers of the Tour of Britain. In fact, I saw nothing of the race whatsoever, and it finished only 100 miles from where I live. But because it's a strange race, it never sends me any information, and it wasn't on British television, main television, until about 9 o'clock at night. Well, I wasn't interested when I knew the result of watching highlights. But I know that Mick Bennett and the organisation, Sweet Spot, they are very, very conscious of safe races, and the organisation is a very, very high standard. I don't know how he got through. It doesn't look to me like it was a TV camera. I don't know what it was. It may have been a photographer. It doesn't look like a commissaire either. But he should not have been there. Absolutely right. The rules are very clear, very distinct. The only car over that finishing line is the race director's car, and the race comes after that. There's nothing else allowed in. No team cars, nothing, for obvious reasons.
Now, we were talking on the last step, Iffy, about the discrepancy in the prize money, and I see that Trek have come out and said, we're going to match prize money now for the women's team throughout next year, which is a great initiative. And they're the ones that have been on the front foot because they were the first team to pay the same for the men and women minimum salary. What were you going to say, John?
No, I just when you finish, now you go. They didn't do it. Not next year. They did it this year. Matter of fact, they never even told anyone. They've been paying. They've been paying all this year. Been paying the prize money to the women to match it. Now teams don't pay prize money. The prize money is paid by the events. But that team has stepped up and been paying the extra prize money out of their own coffers to the ladies matching the prize money of the men's races. And that is absolutely fantastic.
You know what's great about it is it's such a smart business play as well, because it brings like brand alliance to the Trek brand that people go, you know what? If I'm tossing up a brand to go with, I'm going to go with Trek for what they did. It's win-win all around. And I think it'll be something that there's just going to be a lot more pressure next year with the coverage, as we said, the fact that they didn't cover the whole women's Roubaix from the start. They've obviously had issues with races like the Giro and that. It just won't be acceptable anymore. Like people won't put up with it.
I'd like to get to the bottom of what happened with the television coverage of the women's Paris-Roubaix because we never saw it until
50K to go.
It was 55 Ks to go.
But other people on international television overseas did see it before the first couple. So there was television available. So
really?
why didn't we? Yes. So why didn't we all see it? I have no idea. But
John,
it was there.
There's a conspiracy
I have a
theory.
VPN. No, I have a
Mm.
VPN, so I can watch any country at any time. And I went looking for it. It was scheduled on NOS in Belgium, Belgian TV, NOS in Holland. I couldn't find it starting, and then I found it, and then it froze, and I couldn't reset it. Now, VSPN is normally very good if it's streamed properly, and I think they had a problem. I don't think, as far as Britain was concerned, it was scheduled any more than we got. But eventually, it only settled in at around 60K to go, at the most 60K to go.
Yeah.
I think, in fact, I finally nailed it on a foreign network somewhere in Europe with 25, 30K left to ride. And that was the first I really got it hunky-dory. I think it was a technical situation because I know that, I presume it was Andrew McCrossan was doing the commentary for the organization. They will have fed it out to the world from the first kilometer, for sure. It was available if you went looking. But everywhere I went in the world, I just couldn't nail it down. And yet it was showing on the schedule. So I think there might have been a problem of some sort at the start.
Yeah, but I spoke to someone who watched Lizzie Dylan before the first bit of cobbles and watched it all the way through.
I couldn't get
it was there. And
I
I
spent
don't
an
know
hour
why
trying
we
to get
didn't
it.
get to see it. I don't know why we didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
Once I remember when we started, and it was 60 or 55 Ks to go that, and my understanding is because we had it here in Australia on SBS, or streaming through SBS, and that's when they got the live pictures from one of the
Right.
Kate Bates, actually talking to Kate Bates who worked on it, and she said that's when they went live when the race went live. So it's really interesting that other places around the world had it earlier. But there was a moment where the footage dropped out and they went to the commentary with Bridie and Matt. And I thought to myself, that wouldn't have happened in the men's race. Like we know with the helicopter, the motorbikes, the helicopter and the plane, that you wouldn't lose a signal like that on a clear day. And while there had been some rain and some rain clouds around, there's no mountains in that area. So I actually do think that makes me believe, with my knowledge or lack of understanding or small amount of understanding of the TV broadcasting industry, that they had a much more scaled down version of the broadcast for the women's race. And that's why it may have cut out.
Will Wizards got you again, Johnny. No TV in Europe. GCN had a camera on the roadside. There was a GCN replay, John. So your mate is full of it. Okay.
Might have been there live watching it live on the side of the road. So it appears that, and we don't want to be, it's one of those things, right? So at least it was on, they put the race on, yet they didn't do the full coverage like they did for the men. So it's also a challenge to complain too much about something that's new, and it's, at least they're doing it and it's happening. And the cost, obviously, we know what it's like to the cost to do a full broadcast. To do that again, it's double the price. You don't get these cameramen and TV producers for half price because they're doing 2 days. They're charging the same amount both days. And if you haven't got the budget, you haven't got the budget. There's a bit more to this, and I think that there'll be some more investigation to find out why things were the way they were.
But at the end of the day, even if it was more expensive, there's so much build up to that race. I mean, you think of how many eyeballs would have been watching that extra coverage.
Yeah. And it adds value to the men's. Like it actually adds, because it's another day of full promotion for the race to come the following day. So
that's right.
It's a value add for the men's race in itself anyway.
Now, fellas, we're ticked over an hour, so we're starting to wrap things up. But before we do, Iffy, we should promote Phil's going to be still doing some more rides.
Well, just the women's tour. I was just going to say the women's tour. We didn't really talk about who won it or anything yet, mate. We talked about that stage. But so Demi Vollering, the Dutchie, she a great win. She won it by just over a minute with a great ride the other day from Juliette Labousse, French. Clara Caponi, another French lady, third. Sarah Roy was overall 15th at 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes down. And she was also 8th on that final stage, which, as we mentioned, Chloe Hosking was third. So, but a great race. I was having a look at the little highlights package each day, and gee, it was very well done, a very well organised, as Phil said, event. So it's just a shame that they couldn't get the live TV, but the little highlights package I was looking at every day was great.
Yeah, and well supported. Good fans. Mark Cavendish on the side of the road as well. So that got a lot of coverage as well. The fact that he on a training ride stopped by to watch the race. He's offered his support, saying that the women's racing should be much bigger and more promoted. So it's great that Cav has said that. Now, you did stop my own little way of trying to connect myself to this event, John. You stopped short of fourth place, who was Amy Peters. Amy's dad, Peter Peters, former professional on the road, really good road rider, but a great 6-day rider as well. In my very first full season as a 6-day rider, he was my first partner. So I was coming in and he was in his final season. So an old hand. So I know Amy. I've spoken to her about racing with her dad, and her brother Roy has won the Bendigo Madison. He came out and raced in Australia a couple of times actually and won the Bendigo Madison. So a little bit of a connection to us Aussies through Amy Peters in fourth.
Will Wizard said organisers didn't have TV of women's tour because of Giro. Don lost their world tour status because no TV. So there you go.
There you go. That answers that.
That's cool news to me.
And interesting, we were talking just before that UAE are taking over the LA women's team, and I hear a rumour that Pogacar's girlfriend, or fiance, I think it is now, isn't it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Who rides for Bike Exchange, could be going to the new UAE team. So the two of them on the same team. Oh, just a rumour. I haven't heard, but there you go.
Well, the only disappointing thing that I'll say out of that is that they're taking over an existing team, not starting their own. So that's still the same number of teams as we had this year. It would have been nice if LA continued on as a team and UAE had their own team separately. Yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah. True.
All right, we'll better show a quick promo for Phil Liggett's South African tour. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, it's Phil Liggett here, and it's time to get my African safari on the road again. We're heading back to the Kareka Game Reserve in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, where animals, including the rhino, roam freely. We did 4 great rides in June, and now, with 2 new ones, we're set to go again. There will be eminent guests to answer your questions on the wildlife and also offer an opportunity to win amazing trips to Kareka. We'll chat to one another, and you don't even have to ride, thanks to Fulgaz, who will set you up to watch on Zoom when you enrol and make a donation. We have 4 rides, 1 per month, starting on September 19. They last an hour, and if you have a smart trainer, you can pedal your way through the reserve, or you can just sit back with a cup of tea. In either case, knowing that your participation is helping keep the animals safe and free to roam. Come and join me, and all the information you need to have is at kareka.co.za/peloton, and let's go.
Great stuff, mate. When's your next ride?
Next Saturday, but it doesn't favour the Aussies, this one, because we're having to keep the world happy. The last time, the first one was basically for Australia, which we actually got well over $1,000, by the way, from the participants last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. This is on the 17th of October, and it will start 4 p.m. English time. So I'm afraid that's 2 a.m. So I don't expect to see you on this occasion, John. We will be
next one. The one after.
The one after is back to Australia. It'd be a different route again as well at favour the Australians. There are 4. We're taking us right through to December now. Good news is that Africa, South Africa in particular in our case, is opening up its doors now. And it's become a non-red zone to the British as from this week. So we should be able to get over there soon to actually go physically onto Kareka. We're planning that in April. But I mean, speaking with Lindy, who we've met here on the detour, she's now getting quite a good booking for the new year from your.
Oh, fantastic!
So, fingers crossed, we've got her through this very, very difficult time, because the anti-poaching group, which guards all these animals, just costs so much money to run. And basically, thanks to cyclists and cycling, we've kept it going right through this bad time.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Great cause. Get behind it. That wraps a pretty big show, guys. We're over an hour 10.
Wow.
It's always the ones where you go, I'd be short and sharp, iffy. You go, yeah, mate. 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
That's what he says every time he writes to me. It'll only be for a few minutes time.
You were saying, Phil, you got a VPN. We're 40 minutes into the best of Hey Hey It's Saturday here in Australia. You would have been a massive fan of Hey Hey It's Saturday back in the day, yeah?
Well, absolutely. I've never heard of it. Sounds like an excellent show. But having said that, I did watch. Whatever happened to Baden, by the way? I saw some
On
of
Survivor?
the survivors, but what did
He
get
didn't
some back?
survive.
He didn't survive. Double cross, I suspect.
Yeah.
Very vicious
went
program.
close.
That.
He went close.
Yeah. He wasn't a happy camper. He had a whole tactical plan to take
Well,
out
I have the
final
day
trophy,
ahead of
but-
me here now, so we're actually going bird watching about 100k away. So
Oh, enjoy.
we'll see what's flown onto the shores of Southend-on-Sea, where the women's tour was 2 days ago. In fact, I'm a bit
Nice.
late.
There you go.
Enjoy.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining the show, Phil. Thanks, Scooter. Thanks, Iffy. Thanks to Neil, the
All the
Sheriff
best,
Stevens.
Susie, John,
We-
Dan. Good to see
We'll
you.
be back
boys.
again on Thursday night, 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for supporting the show, guys. See you soon. Cheers.
This is the winning ride of the